Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the previous problem what we had is we wanted to calculate the distance between the customer zip code and restaurant zip code and update the account object. So that was the use case which we wanted to do it. So what happened while we're trying to update the same object? So it has an impaction of on a trigger. So let's say you're trying to do before trigger, we can't do any DML. If you're trying to do an after trigger, they are all on read only mode. So in that case, so we can't do anything onto the triggers updating on the same object. Get it?
Oh, okay.
So what we try to do is it's just finally we see the address of or zip code of the same account and the parent account, and we try to do update of their distance. So that failed actually. Why? Because you can't do it. The reason behind this is the thing. Before trigger we cannot do DML, and after trigger we can't do onto the same object to update because that records comes in read-only mode. Using this after trigger we can update some other object. So that is feasible. That's how the triggers are designed, and we should
Okay.
under the same rules. Now, okay, still we wanted to update something like this. What we to do? So, so prior to the same point I'm talking about. So we were doing a feature. We know that it's running in different transaction, but however, we are trying to subject the same object, so that is equivalent to updating a before update. So in a future method, we had update method, right? Update statement. So updating a statement of a same object, it indicates again it's a before update. So before update means what? Again, it comes to you cannot have a DML statement. Actually, our future method had a DML statement. So that is the reason I made this first point. Before trigger, we cannot have DML. You got this point?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what solutions we bought is a few things we can do either by doing a manual button or a button in a record page where you can click on a fetch. So it will try to fire the a batch class and try to retrieve the results.
Okay.
Or you can automate wire through a batch where you can run the batch every day by 12 a.m. or every hour you can run. And moreover, what to do is you wanted to update the zip code. So this is an automated way where you have just filled your zip code and you have mapped your customer zip code. Okay. Only the distance thing is going to update by every day evening or every 1 hour we can do an update.
Okay. So basically, manual or automated through batch, we can do this updating the calculating the distance and update that.
True. So I mean, same batch I'm using in both the places. If you click a button and they will fire, or if you run a batch, they will automatically fire. Run a batch in the sense we have to schedule them by running at 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. or whatever per hour. We have to have a write a scheduled class. The scheduled class will call this batch, and the scheduled class will try to you're gonna run it for each and every hour, 12 o'clock, or depends on you.
Okay.
And the third one is we tried to do a use case of after update, so updating some other object. So while dealing with the after update on account object, so we still run a future method to update onto the contact object. Same zip code and the comparison between the parent and child, and I try to take the value and update into the contact object. So this is an ideal case where an update after update works. You getting? So we're not updating the same object, right? We're trying to update some other object. So I use case of contact object. I try to update the record of contact object. You getting this point? Third point?
Yeah.
Because we were trying to do on the same object, right? However, from a trigger only we wanted to achieve this everything. Okay, implement on some other object. I took that object example as contact object. I'll show you. So this was on the REST API get service, which simply just till now we're trying to get the service of information, and we're trying to update the Salesforce records. See, fast distance is a button which I created. On clicking on them, we get the distance to be updated. So what this button is doing, so in this flow we have written, mm, so flow fetch accounts, which object, what is the condition? Basically, this record should be not null. I mean, we're saying the distance between you and restaurant field is null, and take that only record and then try to update the record because we know that this is a record which is flying in. At the same time, so we are trying to call an update activity where we call update account. So what this update account is doing Apex action if you think. So we need to have a class called as invocable method class. I'll tell you. A class should be at the rate invocable, and the name itself says update account. Look at this. So that's the reason in the flow update account we have. What you have to do is basically you have to uh, insert a dynamic action. For example, if I click on this plus, so it asks me a action. The moment I click on an action, it asks me category or type. So I should say type, and then Apex action you choose it. If an already an action is existing, so then look at this update account. It has been coming here. Why? Because you written a class called as invocable class, and update account is the label name. So this is the class name, account invocable class. Account invocable class, and the label you given as update account. So that's the reason you can see them here. I've chosen this, and that's the reason the name itself is an update account. So what this is doing is this is trying to call this class. So the moment you call this class, we are trying to run a bash class here. Okay? You're launching the particular flow. Like for example, click on them. It will launch a flow, and it tries to execute the batch and tries to update the record here. Currently, it might fail because the zip code API is not updated there into the custom label. But this is the previous record which got updated. So I'm saying what are the possible ways you have. So via through a button we try to do it. And anyway, running a bash classes from the dev console also you can do it. Or you can schedule the writing a schedulable class, you can schedule the batch. And again, via through a future method, like generally updating a record, right? And we're trying to update the contact. So what I did is you are trying to update the account record and the related contact we have, right? I went on to the contact. Here also I created a new field called as um, distance between them. So I simply update here. So this is something that where your account is getting updated and it fires a record to a contact object, and I'm updating here. So I'm just simply showing how one object is impacting the other object by the integration service. Hey Jamsil. So Jamsil, I think maybe yesterday at this point I would have missed you. Um, so I click on update account. You would have seen this one new update account. How actually we have been creating here is you have to click on a plus add here, and you have to click on the actions. Maybe we are not just getting this screen, or we're not launching any of the subflow. You click on an action. So you choose a type here called here, and Apex action you choose it. Then you get this update account or account invocable class. That's how we try to invoke the class. See, this is a class name, this is a method or label name which we have. Okay, perfect. So now let me jump into today's session. So any questions in the previous session, please?
No, I think we're good. Can you show me that account batch zip code update? So how do you provide the zip codes?
No, the same way.
Okay. Or you're passing the values from the, okay.
So what I did is we have an handler here, and handler is trying to call this method. See, one thing have been bypassed here. I'm saying that, hey, if you're running in a batch, see what happens is your batch is running and your feature is running. So it
Mhm.
contradicted yesterday. So what I made is, hey, if you're running from a batch, I will not run this code.
Okay.
So system dot is batch. If this is not a system dot is batch, then you run this code. If running from a batch, I will not execute this snippet. Why? Because this is again firing a future class to some other guy. So it is maybe it's looking like a chain. It's going on. You updating an account, that account is updating contact, and the contact is having a future method. So like this, these guys won't allow it. So that's the reason what it is. So you are trying to call a batch class here, and this batch class is actually executing the code snippet to update the particular account, finding a distance. And eventually, this update account, what happening is it is again trying to call on after update of the account. It is calling the contact object. The contact object having a future method, and even they also start running it. So then we got some errors. I think if you watch the last session of yesterday's class, so what exactly the errors you will get to know. So that one detailed session of video, if you see what types of errors we have, why we have covered up the this batch, you will get to know. So now we are good with if you're running via through a trigger, I mean normal record you're updating it. So this would run. Why? Because that is not running from batch. Of course, you are running from like something like you clicked on the button fetch. Let me see, fetch distance. Yeah, this is calling a batch. Or you have running a schedule class even that is running a batch. So when they all run at that particular time, so what we have in the batch class they would run. Okay, what we have in the batch class they would run, but they will not trigger this particular snippet because we say that if you are a batch, please do not execute this line. That's the meaning of this. Got this?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can bypass the code also when you're running from one system to another system. Let's say if you are running a schedule class, you wanted to bypass some snippet, yes, you can do it. You can say that system.eSchedulable. So it is very common. So you can have system dot is. See, is future, is cubable, is running elastic comp, is scheduled. So majority will be using is batch, future, cubable, and is scheduled. When you say that a particular snippet is already been scheduled, we say, hey, schedule is if it's not scheduled, please do not run the snippet. Or if it's queuable, so do not run. If it's future, do not run. So something that you can have a conditions. So when specific methods are called, so you can bypass them. So I bypass specifically here. When a batch class runs, I would not run this particular snippet because this is eventually calling another future class. See, this batch guy is also an asynchronous process, and this feature is also an asynchronous process. So clubbing them, these two guys would be crazy one. So in order to do this, we have to bypass these guys. Now what I want to do is, yes, of course, we have tried to a consumer service. Today I want to write an expose a service. How generally we try to expose, and we're gonna consume from the third party. I'm assuming the postman is a third party guy here, or anyone who is outside the system of a Salesforce. You can connect, or we can try from your Salesforce account to my Salesforce account if you guys have. So that it is possible. So we'll see any one of your trial log will take it up, and then we'll try to log in from there and we'll do it. Getting? Mm. So basically, while we wanted to expose a service, a REST service in Salesforce, we need to have few things. So what are the few things is if you see, we call something called REST resource. The REST resource indicates, just a minute. So when I wanted to expose a REST service, I have few methods to follow upon. Something like at the rate HTTP, get HTTP. So something like this we do it. So we'll see how to use them or how to call them and how to update them. We'll see them. But you have to give URL mapping for this, because based on the URL mapping only we can say what do you say, based on the URL mapping only we can get to know that okay, we are trying to fire these to the particular endpoint. So we'll see them. Let me go on new Apex class. So here, which particular service will try to expose? Hmm, I'm just thinking about restaurants. Thinking a scenario where okay, let's try to expose a account. Hmm, okay, so we'll do one thing. So who is having the parent account? Called as, let's say, now let me bring it up in use case. Simple request, we got it. Now let's bring up to a use case. So don't mind guys, I'll update these notes today only after this session. Because it's being, and this particular notes will be helpful to you in terms of integration stuff. Because I'm trying a couple of use cases here, so it should be helpful to you. Use case one. So here also we'll try to use get service and a post service by sending a request, by sending account number, basically we call as a restaurant number. By sending a restaurant number, return me the associated. I'm by sending the restaurant number, return me the associate customers info. It could be one customer, it could be 1,000 customers. Example. So example. This is you're actually doing it in Salesforce, right? By sending the restaurant, we are returning the customers associated from Salesforce. What as an example is, for example, if you're sending the welcome there. If I go to Kukatpalli, in the Kukatpalli, I have, so this account number is indicates my restaurant number. Right? This account number is basically a restaurant number. What is that indicates of restaurant number? If you see, it's a restaurant type of what is it? It's a Kukatpalli. It's a restaurant. Whoever is reporting to this Kukatpalli, so they are all my customers. So that is what I assume, and I want them. If I pass the restaurant number like this of Kukatpalli, send me all the customer info. Guys, got this use case?
So from my application, you're going to get your application, Kokotpalli restaurants.
Yeah, it is not only Salesforce to Salesforce. It can be any third party to guys.
Okay. Or you can try it from the Postman also.
Yeah. So we are trying to send a request. Um, so get request would be sending this, and response would be all the customers info. Fine. So this could be any system. So I'm just saying that this is a simple agenda of what we have to send to that service and what we're going to receive overall. So looking at this, we have to again come back to our yeah. While doing an implementation, so what things is required. So this is for the people who are invoking the service. Please provide the endpoint URL. So please provide my authorizations. It either can be credentials or some access token to access, or what is the JSON request for the service. So maybe here someone is sending a GET request. What is the response that you're going to get back? So okay, list of accounts. You send a request here as a what do you say, the number, and here you got the response as the list of accounts. So this is always we should keep in mind. So when someone is trying to implement our service, that means they are consuming our service. These are the key points they have to follow. Now, when you wanted to expose a service, I think I have mentioned somewhere. When you wanted to expose a service, like this is important. So where we trying to expose. So while we're trying to expose a REST service, so URL mapping, which method we are using it, this is all important. And we only should, as a exposing guy, where we are the producer, we should decide which method we will be exposing to those particular guys. So like that, if you think. So expose or we become a producer. The first key point what I want to do is we need to decide. I mean, the exposer has to decide. Okay, let's have HTTP get. First, let them try to use our get activity. Where they send something like a request like this. Based on the request, I'll try to send the response with all the customers. Now to do this, we have to follow a few things. Expose. Um, okay, so they're expecting for a get. Okay, we'll say this is a method. So that is HTTP get, and we will give URL mapping. So this URL mapping indicates so endpoint to connect with. I'll tell how the endpoint frames, and the third point would be class should be class access. So this should be global always because someone is trying to invoke the service. It should be global, and so we have to use something called as a REST resource. URL just doesn't come something just like that. At the rate REST resource. It's a annotations we need to have. Inside this only, you will be writing a URL mapping. So this URL mapping indicates for endpoint, and you need to write a method. So at the rate HTTP. So we know this is a HTTP get method. We need to have annotation called as HTTP get. So this is one important thing. If we simply write this way, HTTP, okay, this way. Okay. The method annotation, URL annotations, modify should be global, and you can have an input method. So that input method would be something like, um, this is a method type it is. Which method type it is this? Actually, we can have, okay. Now write method definitions. What I can do is, so let this be your first point, second point, third point. Yeah. First is your endpoint. Next is the global class, and then method should be get. Like there is, you can have a number. Like you can have a post, you can have, and so on. Any one method you can define. All you can have all the methods implemented in the same class. It's still acceptable. So method definition of get, method definition of post, you can all give them. So a simple snippets, we'll write it now. So that would be something global. So you can have the method as static void, and then you can say if you're trying to return something, you can give them response as a list of accounts, because basically you are sending the accounts in this case, basically list of account, and send all customers. So this method you write it. Now where you want to send it, if the method is written this way, you need to return this list of account, right? Because it's a return type method, you need to return them for sure. Is there any questions you have? To expose a service, firstly we need to have the mapping, modifier, method type, definition, and what method you're gonna write it. It's just like normal method. Someone is trying to send the request, and you're gonna send them all the accounts back. Now, if specifically that guy is sending slash, let's say your endpoint is www dot some abc slash, and directly is sending you thing is he sending you this value. So we can go to this base URL and we can pick it up the before the slash whatever the value is the get value. We can pick it up them. In that we can do it. What does that is simply we say is so we have to find the request URI. So two things we have to use it here. When people are trying to do get activity, you simply say the method as send all customers or do get, do post, whatever you can have your own method names. This is generally in Java, we have that. Do get, do post, we have tried it. So like that, what are the method name you're writing here? So we can write them by just passing an URI. What is that URI? Let's take them example of REST resource. These are because you're using REST resource, right? In that we have REST request and REST response. So these are the two interface objects, interface class we have. So we here it also about the request what who has sent it. Here the response will have resource in the REST context. What we have is what third party guys have sent to us. So those will be there in this method. So the moment they call this URL, the moment they call this HTTP GET, whatever the request is sent, so that will be here. And that request only we are assigning to this. You getting? Now the request, whichever we got it. So what is there in the URL if you wanted to figure it out? So request dot something like request URI. Request URI. So you will get whatever someone has sent you the overall request. Let's say the abc/.com, everything would be here. Because if you are focusing on something JSON, what you have sent, you would be you're not using this request URI something because URI indicates what is the URL that you have been sent. Because since it's a get method, so you're trying to check what is in the URL they've passed as a filters. For example, So you are sending the /.com/rest, and then you are indicating this. So based on this, we trying to take the REST URI. Okay, they are passing all in the URL. It's a get method. Something from URL we want to pick it up. So we use this REST request URI. So REST context dot request will be getting overall what you got, what you sent to our Salesforce. So all the things will be captured here. Okay, now that information is stored in the REST request. There's actually people who are sending the request, who sends the request. So we capturing all of them in a request URI or whatever this request. Now we have to parse this request. What exactly this guy is sending? Where is he sending? So now get into the request what he sent. Selectively pick it up, which we require. So after the .com / whatever you give, we assume that is a request. You give a junk value, we say that it's not existing. You give a proper value, we say that the record exists, take this value. Super. So get into the request, whatever you're doing it, what you send, and selectively pick it up what is required. So request URI would get me the whole bunch. But I want to get not the base URL, but I want to get only this value. So we use anyway, this whole thing is like a string only we get it. So I'm using a substring of this dot substring. So in this substring inside, you can indicate, okay, now whatever the request URI we got it. So dot, and I'm just trying to go to their index bound where the last index you see, and the index will have so this slash. So I'm just going till the last index. From there, I'm seeing wherever the pointers of the slash. So before that, whatever the values which I have, I will pick it up all them. So this is the statement indicates. So now, so we are trying to pick it up the string. While doing this statement, what we'll get is we'll get only this value, and that value has been put it up here. So now you can do a query here. Query the count. Well, because you got the account number, right? Just by sending someone here or query the account. How do you query the account? So let's say list of account. Let's say in the query the related customers. List of account. I'm saying customers. Okay. So what information they require? Let's say select the name again. Billing street. Billing postal code. From account where parent dot, so we are focusing on account number where the parent dot account number is equal to this value. Response what we got. Of course, right? The parent is indicating here who is a restaurant guys. So their associate all the child records are pulling based on my parent account wherever I used. So these all assume that these are the child accounts, and that customers you have been sending it here. Return customers. Okay. So this is a simple snippet we have. So you have to be ready with the exposing a service. I'm just giving a simple example of say get service what they're doing it here. Post doing all this service, what you have to do is you have to share the credentials with them. So what we do is we create connect app. So based on this connect app, they will connect, and we create connect app and share the credentials and APIs to third party, whoever wants to connect, or whoever wanted to invoke this service. Or the term is consume. Any questions here? So we are mapping it out, we are writing a logic, and then after finishing a logic, we are trying to categorize it up. And along with that, we have a few credentials. So we have to share to the third party guys, saying that what you should send a request, what's the response you will get it, and how do you connect all these streams. So here in the sixth point you can mention, share the request pattern, response pattern. This we have to do it. We are the responsible of sharing the request and response pattern. So you share request pattern, response pattern, and error codes. So why these error codes are required is because something we send it out by saying 401, 404, 405. I think if you go to look at the zip code, so they have indicated this. The zip code AP documentation, we go error codes there. Yeah. So we have to mention these error codes. Any service that you are exposing, you are the responsible one for them. So we say that this is an exposing service. So you should indicate all these error codes. However, you can have your own way of displaying the codes. To say 400, the request format itself was incorrect. So 404, the key was not found. Something like this, you can have a number of error states code based on the HTTP service, whichever we have. HTTP has a number of error codes we have. So 200 is the success, which is saying that, okay, the service is fine working and we're sending a response back. Okay, so now I think it's 1 minute left. We have to come back. So then I'll show a real-time example, writing the snippet into a Salesforce. So till now we're just discussing about how do we follow the methodology to expose a service. Is that?
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be ready with the with the class. Okay, it's recording now. We good. So I wanted to write this service. So we'll say so I'll go to developer console here. Okay. So let me create a class here. So the class name itself, we're gonna say them as this is restaurant, right? So restaurant expose service. You pass on the restaurant number, we are sending you back the customers. So we are allowing you to invoke few things onto the restaurant. So majority we may expose a couple of things, or we may say that okay, sometimes we wanted to allow you to update a record. The third party we don't allow you to update a record. So this absolutely matches for a simple guy who works on for the restaurant. So if you want to expose it for a customer to enroll a system, still that also we can do it. But this simply we can have for restaurant expose REST service, expose REST service. So I already just said you it should be global. The class should be global. And what are the key points that you have to follow? So we need to have at the rate REST resource URL mapping. So it's very important, guys. At the rate REST resource URL mapping should be the first line of your service. It's very important. So copy them just like the same, because that indicates your first line of code. So this should be small. Okay. copy. So REST resource, and inside that we're going to give a clearly URL mapping. So in this URL mapping inside, we have to give the service name. So we can give whatever the way you wanted it. Restaurant. Restaurant service. So I'm giving the name it as the endpoint URL is restaurant response service, restaurant service, and then I'm gonna use slash star. So this indicates under this you can pass a couple of methods also. So one method or one more method you can use it. So what this error indicates, let's quickly see them. Annotation does not exist. Oh, so resource being so rest resource. I think good there. Okay, so our URL mapping is ready. Our class name is ready. So you can have a global with sharing you can use it. With sharing or without sharing, it's all your wish. So with sharing is the keyword I put. So only those guys who have access to this profile, so they can do the access to this. So you can give this open. It's all about your wish. So now we have to again get into more of the detail of at the rate HTTP get method because we're dealing with get method. And let's come back here. So we are done with the point global at the rate get variant to and the so we are just trying to use this method. So whatever I've written, so let me try to use this. Is a simple definitions. We can reframe it again. So global. Okay, James. So global static. So list of account. So so list of account. Send all customers is the one which you have. Okay, this is the endpoint URL which you're trying to do. So restaurant service slash this thing something will be. So this is something on the look at this. This is how its the endpoint URL look like. So your org's base address slash so restaurant service which you are creating like this and the number you have to pass. This would be a typical endpoint. Yes, this would be typical endpoint look like because you have to share your company's base URL address of Salesforce. And then finally restaurant service and then if you pass the number it'll get to know okay you're trying to use invoke get service or post service. If you know like this in this method you need to say get. So overall URL you will understand I need to go to get method. So under it should be get method. So yeah, this is really good. So what now went wrong? Illegal assignment from string to system.rest response. What is that? Sorry, one small change we have. Because it says return type is less and this is missing. Okay, let's do one thing. Who sends the request is we have in this. Get the so get the request. Get into the request. So this is a response context. We are creating it, and then let's add a string because this conversion which makes string Restaurant. So this is restaurant number. Basically, this written actually string. So let me start. So now it's good. So REST context request you have to assign to this. REST context response you have to assign to this. So I would change this meaning of this now. So what this indicates now? To send the response in return, we use this. Basically, we got a request. Using the request, we have framed this. Basically, using the request, we have framed this. Now we need to have a response. If at all we are sending the response in a JSON or something like structure, we require this. So we'll see whether this response would be useful or not, because we currently it is a get service. While doing get service, we are just framing the request and then we're sending it out. So all we have a request like this. It's basically a string. Till now we have a good restaurant list of accounts where account number we'll put this as star number and close them properly. Return customers. So acquire the related customers using restaurant number. So that we did, and we pass the numbers. I think we're good here. So REST context response, maybe while dealing more with the complex scenario, I'll tell you. So currently what important thing is they are sending a request. So all in the request we have, this is request context. We are jumping into the request URI and finding the substring of, before the last string, whatever we have this slash. So we are picking up those string and we are assigning to this number. Whatever because left hand side and right hand side should be the same pattern. So this returns a string and left hand side also should be string. And that string we are matching here and we are querying all the records and we are returning them. So any questions here still?
No, so we are returning the customers, but we are not returning the response, right? You're going to. You're on mute, Kant.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm in mute. I have to go to connected app. I have to go to I'll go to app manager. I'm going to create new connected app. In the connected app, I need to export say something about expose, or we can say to start service. So contact email. So if you have any callback URL, you can give the callback URL. That is something that if you have them, you can give it, or else you can simply give google.com. In original case, when you try to people are hitting this, they will have a callback URL to go somewhere. So which service that you want to use? I want full access. So they're saying that, hey, do you want to access only the profile information or lightning application information or a source or few things specific to what data you want to access? I'm saying full access. Okay. So I don't want anything other else. I'm just good enough with this. Enable what settings, full access. I think I'm good with this. Let me save it. So why we create current tab is so that you get invalid protocol. With the help of connected tab only, we can enter to a Salesforce. So these are the mediators or connectors you can say. So now what we have is, look at this. We have this endpoint and we have the secret. So with the help of these two things only, we are getting into Salesforce and we're going to access that such methods. Um, you can also have a dynamic access token to do a no dynamic client registration can happen. So, but this we're not going to use it. Anyway, we're going to manage. Um, so let me see this. Admin approved users or all users self-authorized. Let's see that. Otherwise, we're good here. So now what you have to do is, from a third party, we have to connect to this system. So what are the key things that we have to have? Let me. So this connect app from Salesforce, we have created it. You have exposed service. You have now a service open to you. Where's that? So you have a service open to you, and now your written method also from a third party. They are connecting to Salesforce. They should have some login credentials to get into the system. So for that, we're trying to work on. So it's taking time for candidate app to get configured. So now let's go to our endpoint URL. So we have already got the. So where's that? So let me go to Postman and I try to create a new request. So the new could be I'm adding here. I'm just clicking on get. So here get. So prior to this, we have to do an authorization here. So authorize would be here. What 2.0. So I have to get this access token here. So the token should be saying that it's available. So how to do that? We'll see. So we'll have to give all this information here. So we have to connect from a connected app. We have to call back all these guys. So basically, we have to do an authentication. So from a postman, um, authorize the connected app. So we need to have authentication URLs. Look at these URL examples, all the even client ID, client secret, and we have to give. Let's see some other way we have. So OAuth 2.0 only we'll use it. Parrot token horizontal. No, it's OAuth 2.0 because we have to get the token like this. There's an options we have. Okay, let's fill this form. No problem. So OAuth 2.0, we have to give the endpoint URL. So now the endpoint URL is actually this is the endpoint URL, salesforce.com, and then followed by the service that we're doing it here. I think already I mentioned here. Okay. So you can give this into the params also. So where you say key, so you don't give anything, you can directly give this value here also. But this way it pass through, but we don't want that. We directly simply passing you a value here. So any other this thing is not required for us. Okay. So what it is, you have even get URL this. Maybe this URL little might slightly change. So I'm just giving the highlights information here. Authorization or 2.0 you're choosing, and you're choosing the token. So this is something that you are making connection. Let's say invoke restaurant or invoke customers. Some name, random name we're giving invoke customers. Authorization code grant type we are using. Um, so password credentials you're using it. So based on the password credentials, we have to give username and password here. So there are a couple of ways we have. So authorization code you can give it directly. You can give callback URL all that you can configure, or password credentials simply using a password credentials you can log in, or someone client is giving client ID, client secret, and this way they can configure. So a couple of them we have. So I'm just using password credentials where using some admin credentials or any other integration user specific credentials you are trying to log into this access token. So I'm just using the existing one what we have. So now access token here, how do you get it? So we have to have HTTPS colon double slash um, login.salesforce, right? So login.salesforce.com. So what this indicates, it indicates our login credentials uses. So then, so we have slash services, and of course we're using OAuth 2.0. Or we can simply store. So OAuth 2.0 and authorize. So the keyword called is authorize. We have to use it. So what this indicates? So this is all very simple, guys. It's available in Trailheads, or you can go to a developer Apex developer guide. You will all get this URLs. Very generic URL. So login.salesforce.com. If you're trying to do a dev org or a production org. So maybe here test.salesforce.com is indicates for sandboxes. So I'll copy these links to you. Into chat. So while creating current lab, share the pattern response code. Now, now the third party is connecting with you. Third party is trying to connect. So now what are they following? Authorization first to happen. To happen authorization first. So invoke tokens. So somehow they have to invoke tokens. Invoke tokens via password. So we have this via password credentials. So whatever we have the key terms that we have to copy them here. So you have to be, config for the new token. What are the things that we have? Let me copy all these fields. Okay, this is fine. Access token, we're just giving it as, uh, I'm just giving login.salesforce.com. So it's a grant type, what we wanted to have. So invoke customers is the token name that we given here. So token name. Next, what is grant type? Grant type is password credentials. Access token. URL is this. We're doing authorizations. Now, a few things to configure is token name, grant type, access token, client ID, client secret. All we have in the control tab. So we'll just get from there. Username, password, scope. We don't define any scope here. Client authentication, so we don't specify anything here. So these are the few important things that we have to note till now. So we'll give them. Now, what is a client ID? So you have to come back to our control tab. So come to app manager and see is that restaurant service. So this is a client key which we have. So client key and secret key we have. This is a client ID and this is a client secret. So this is all we have to give the information there. And username is here we have admin@mcd.com. That's username we have, and a password is training at 123. Another thing is we have to add a security token to this. I'll show you what a security token. So in the very beginning in the admin class, we would have used it. So let's configure the same here also. Copy this client ID, or let's copy quickly here. Client ID, client secret, username, password. So they're saying that use variable instead of keeping sensitive data here. So we have to create a variables like say collections, and from there we have to invoke this. It's okay. Password. So we have this now. I want to add what is it? A secure token along with this. So where do you get secure token? Go here to the system. Go to your settings. Oh, the one point we can't have a security token here is because we are So we have opened the profiles to have a anyone can configure, anyone can log in with the username and a password without having an OTP. So that's cost this. You'd see that now. So we have a live login IP range. If you delete this, then you'll get them. So if you say randomly anyone can configure, then it's crazy. So we don't allow them to get the security token access here. So let me refresh now. You'll be able to get them. The user who logged in and their particular profile, if the login IP range is 0 to anything if you have, so you will not get this reset security token. So now we got this because we have opened up the what is it, the IP range, so that we are able to see now. So it has been gone to my email ID, so it's okay. So now let me come to my back to my profile and edit the same. So why? Because often we are trying to log in from different system, right? So 255.255.255. So now the secret token would have went off because I have opened up the access to public. So let me log into my account quickly. So there's a new token which just came into me. So I have to copy this. So we call this under secret token. So security token is case sensitive, should be same. Go here and I have the secret token. Oh my God. So we're exactly going to use the secret token. You have to copy them and you have to paste next to the your password. So that way the system is more secure to connect to you. So I'm going to paste the secret token here. So let's say now get access token. We'll see whether we're able to get the access token. Some issue. So what is the issue? We have to see. So username is correct. admin@mc.com. Credential is correct. Client ID, client secret is correct. Oh, sorry for this. So sorry for this, guys. What is this login.salesforce.com? It's a dev org, right? So I just said that if it is a test.salesforce.com, it's a sandbox. Login.salesforce.com, it's a developer. Still, what is the issue? Distributes login.salesforce.com/auth service 2.authorize. I think one thing is missing here. Get URL body is also super cool. So header token, everything looks good. So I should see the logs. What's happening here? Response type not supported. What is response type? Is it ours? Log in the Salesforce. Yeah. Response type not supported. So login.salesforce.com service over 2.0 authorize. Uh-huh. So we'll see this what it indicates. So we can say Salesforce. We have this. Yeah, error unsupported type, response type, error description not supported. Access token URL, all is correct. Client ID, client secret username. So all these I've pasted, no issues. Login dot customers. Okay, let me do a small change here and check it out. Um, So I go to content manager. So let me currently give the whole full access, whatever respective let them be. Enabling this option will result in all users currently being using this app internet access. Please. I'm just trying this out, guys. A simple authentication if it fails, what to do? admin@mcd.com. Okay, we'll do one thing. Generate the access token via through app manager. Let's see this.
Show me the password.
I'm just going to do a recording here. So what I want to do is I want to go to the app. So we have options to generate the token there. I'm just seeing. Initial access token for dynamic client registration. So this is initial access token. We'll come to the point where we wanted to access it. So it's a simple token that we generated now. And let's see. So directly I'm going to give access token. And let's say with the above service, we are trying to hit the data. Let's see what happens. So URL no longer exists. So we have attempted to the Salesforce that's having name issues. So the overall this service is correct. So when we want to invoke a service, I think we have to give the proper URL. For example, the endpoint URL is fine, and then slash services slash the request URL doesn't exist. That means this token is working great. Then we have to give a proper URL. So you can search service URL. So URL params they're giving this. There are two ways to generate the access token. Okay, we'll come here later. Um, so this is the instance we are trying to request header. So password, consumer, username, all that we given user with the Salesforce security token. So this endpoint they have and some logic they written here. It's okay. This is the one. Services Apex REST. That's it. How do you invoke this endpoint as? Um, so let me give this and see. So the overall, this is our instance slash services slash Apex REST, and then followed by the whatever the service that we want, we can get them there. It's not services data, it's services REST Apex REST. Um, and now this has to come at the last. So endpoint URL service Apex REST slash service slash data. Session expired invalid session data. Now this has expired. Let me regenerate the token again. So how to get the dynamic token, and we will see that. Firstly, we should see the services of ours is working or not. So this is a simple token we have. Why it is saying unauthorized? So we have to use Barrett token only, guys. I don't know why this is not been sending here. So params also clear, headers, body. Okay. So firstly, before coming to Postman, if you want to check the service working or not, so we have one more logic where we can go one here, called as workbench. We can see the service whether it is working or not in the workbench. So even those guys also would tell us what it is. So we can fix that by just giving the postman's credential all, and then we can fix it up. But just go into the workbench where you can see this. So workbench.salesforce.com will help you out. This again, we here also we can easily access them. So I'm just choosing workbench. I'm just saying this takes a single sign-on. If you have already logged in, it takes the our credentials and shares that this is a system that you wanted to access. Shh. Yes, I want to say allow. So using this workbench, a lot of things you can do. You can query some records. See, you can select the couple of fields and then simply query. So they will return new results here. If I would have chosen ID, so I could have gone click on ID, I would have viewed the records in Salesforce. For example, here. So look at this. So it says the moment you click on this, you want to view it in Salesforce. If I click on view in Salesforce, it jumps there. So it has multiple advantages of using Workbench. You can query them, you can delete in bulk. Here also instead of to delete, you can do it. Let's say if you wanted to insert a record, either single or a bulk file, how we use data import and export is that right? The same thing like we can do here also. Again, so this guy is also using the limits of what we can do as a bulk data load. Like data loader, it takes 5 million records. The same way it can also do that activity. So who logged in? It says here. Look at this. That's 33 at McDonald's. Okay. So what is our idea here is so go to the utilities. There's REST Explorer. So we're going to test the REST Explorer service here. So we're going to do a get service. So services data, this is something versions they have given here, but we can give our own versions of execution. So let's see. Let me check this. The workbench. So we need to give this slash. So services, Apex REST, restaurant service, and the number I given. What is the results we're getting? It says okay. Let me check once again. Services, Apex REST, and then the service that we're using it. Let me do one thing. The whole thing, let me give it from the postman, whatever I've given. Get service execute. So that's a base URL. So that's the reason we didn't giving it. So it's getting the results, but why it's not right? So let me see in developer console any such request has been flowing in. Clear log and let me from the postman execute. Yeah, some service they're writing it. So which is coming from here. And we say debug. So method get remote address is got here and accept system address request. We have these params. It is going to our class. Look at this request.body system.rest request. See, the number is going here. Oh, the result is not written any records here. That's the reason. Customer is 0 here. Firstly, we'll see the records is having some records or not. Query editor. So let's go to service and let's query this record. Select name, billing street from account where parent account is equals to. So the restaurant number which is given is equals to single quote. So it's restaurant number. We have Cooked Police. Oh, this one. So there's a parent number which is passing here, and I'm saying execute. Select. Okay. So this one, guys, we have. So I passed the same number what we requested. Select name, billing street, postal code from account where parent dot account number is equal to. Are the same number we're passing there? So it's correct, but they are not returning any value. What is this? Here it says so many results. In a log which you're testing it out, it says 0. One query, no record result returned. This temporary. So that too, this query has been there. So why it says 0 here? It has a value, it has an account, customers, state. Just a simple change I'm doing it, but that shouldn't be a matter. Okay, if what if I do is pass some ID here? Let's say based on the ID you're getting it or not. Since an account number we are doing it right, so we will try to send them by ID, parent ID. So this restaurant number let be the same thing. After the slash whatever we send we are doing with the parent ID. Let me copy the Cooked Police parent ID and then send it out as a service. Let's see what happens.
Can we print what we are getting there? Are we getting the restaurant number or something else? Maybe debug statement.
Yeah, we can put a debug also. So let's see here. See, this is a value which figuring it here. Oh, is this having slash at the end? I could see there's a slash here.
right? 10 minutes section is just 10 minutes. Game must run.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Here, one mistake. So we have deleted the slash. I'm seeing it here. I think we figured out the issue. So we're saying that wherever you find the index, so +1. So you knock this off and get the value. That's the point it is. So we'll go back to the whole case, whatever it is. Let this be a restore number only. So +1. There's one thing missed it. Sorry for this. I think you should be able to get now. So go to the workbench and pass the same. So pass the same ID which you're passing so far. You should get it now. All the values are accounts. So the one simple mistake is what we done is, so we have tried to see that still the last index of wherever you see slash, you get them, I said. So it is getting all these values. So when the
Postman
number,
is also same error, same issue maybe.
so Postman is saying that it is having security issues or invalid session ID.
Can we try now?
So this is having different issue.
Okay.
So what you can do is you guys can log into our Salesforce. So I will give a snippet where that snippet you have to run. So like for example, you are writing this endpoint and you are writing the credential like client ID and client secret. So that snippet in your org, if you do, you will get this list of account. That's the results we're getting it here. So let's see how these guys are sending it out. So we have a bulk JSON here going on. So I didn't debug it, right? So should have been debugged. The results which are sending it here. System dot debug. I'm doing this. So let me run from the. So what this is indicating is the workbench. You can try a service that whatever you've written, if some third-party guys are accessing this how you can test it out in local system. What if you don't have a postman? So what do you do it? Salesforce native, people who have built this workbench. Uh, so it's working against the Salesforce, but this is not exactly Salesforce product, but they are the vendors or partners you can think. So they built for easy to access to the Salesforce. So you can give this all these URL and what are the methods that you return. You can simply test it out. If you don't have any configuration like say Postman or do it. So Postman typically talks about okay. So I'm logging in as a third party and then connecting typically as an externally like a third party guys. But this is not like a third party, but he is acting as the user who logged in here. So using this user credential, I'm an admin, right, for this particular org. So admin is trying to execute the service and check it out whether the service is working or not. This is something that we try it out internally. To test it out from the external, yes, of course, we have to have something like Postman. So we'll figure this out. No problem.
So that workbench is available for everybody or it's
Yeah, it's everybody. So you just workbench or Salesforce, developers force.com. And the developer org which you logged in, login Salesforce org which you logged in. So it could not take the same credential.
okay.
So I just simply allowed it, right? So it just logged in. It's a single sign-on stuff.
Okay.
And what are the service name that you're given? You just see you have to give it here and then you have to query them here.
Can you ping that workbench name in the chat?
Yeah. So I wanted to update these into Google right today. After this class, I'll do it.
Okay.
The whole sheet which I have now, it's in my hand. This one. So I've copied here. this workbench URL. And how to take security access token also I said you. So we're all good there. So we're able to bring it up so you pass a customer ID and we're able to get the results. Now we have to do this in a Postman or some other service. Postman or who else? SOAP UI, right? SOAP UI also. I need to check whether I've installed the SOAP UI. I'm not sure. No, I don't have SOAP UI. So let me install the SOAP UI also. It will be helpful to us. Postman is easy way to send the request. SOAP is also the similar way. So we'll do a connection there also. But we were able to pass our service and we were able to get the list of records. So this is something that service is working. Using a Postman, we hit the service and we got all these account results. So this is absolutely for, and the get request, we pass this and we got the response. Correct, right? In the get request, we pass this. In response, we got all their associated customer info. So I'm just seeing the customer name here, but it is actually pulled up the record if you see individually. So you typed for a billing state, postal code, parent code, whatever you given, all that has been brought. If billing postal code has been entered, so that would have been also bought. See, postal code I've entered here. So that's the reason we got postal code. So if the values are null, you don't bring this up. It says bring the field and it doesn't say any null. If value not there, we don't even get that field also. The two difference you can see. So we're able to get request and get the response. So service basically from workbench, we use this. Here we need not to say that which is your header you're passing, what you're doing at all, that we need to send it out here. The request is basically, I'll put this way. So Apex request, restaurant service is an API service, and then so this is a value that which you pass. So based on this passing a value, we bought all the results as a response. So what is very important here is we wanted to pick it up the first value, you do +1. You want to pick the last second value, say +2. And so far you can keep counting them here. See? I did a +1, right? So this indicates what? So get me the first value of that. If you say +2, it will get the second value of that. So that's the meaning of it. +1, it got this, +2, if I say this, and +3, it goes on to wherever the slash it keep finding. So it just jumps on. You got my point? So I just missed that particular +1. So it always brought me this whole thing. Why? Because you find these, and after that, whatever you have a string +1, you bring that I said. And if I don't have a +1, I had always getting this value with along with slash. Of course, we don't have any record with slash and this value, right? So it is giving me 0 results. So tomorrow, what we'll do is I would set up this all Postman ready, and then you should have very good established connections, and then you should do it out. Via through Postmans, we do a connections when we can see it, and otherwise from your system, you are you're absolutely a third-party systems. You don't use any exception like Postman something. You have to hit a direct API call to us. So we would share this access token. Using the access token, you have to hit the service again. For the general, I think somewhere I have written the code snippets. I should check them and then I have to say that from a third party, if you connect, what are the things that you have to follow? Yes, getting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I already have such codes. A lot of times I've implemented them. So I'll explain it in detail. Like from let's say you are a Salesforce or a different org, or you can have SAP also. From there also you can invoke. Since this is a free org, so you can invoke from anywhere. So it should work. So let's see them tomorrow. I think we're able to achieve write a service, simple get request, expose from third party, just access the connection. Only thing is we have to authorize this org by throwing connected app by just giving all this admin configuration stuff. So it should be good enough. Okay. So we'll see tomorrow, guys. Yeah. Thank you all. Yeah. Bye. Yeah. Bye, Muti. Bye, Kumar.